I'm sorry, made a mistake.
Oh, I had a gourmet hamburger today with all the toppings for free. I can't say where because we can't promote for-profit businesses, but
Yeah,
we are here in the food capital of the United States. At least that was 2 years ago, and I'm trying to slim down and tone up with some free weights. And Bob has won over 150 medals in powerlifting. He retired last year, and now he's doing bodybuilding
yeah,
at the young age of 70.
yes. Next week we will have my trainer Chase Duhon on, and we will be talking about it. We did the show last week, but because Facebook wasn't working and we weren't on live, we're gonna do it. Try to do it again next week.
Okay,
And,
good.
and, and like ladies and gentlemen, we always start off the show with a prayer. So I will lead us in prayer. Father, we come to you humbly and ask you to bless this show that we might impart great messages and ideas to the people that are watching, especially in dealing for people that are curious about their family members that have schizophrenia and bipolar, and may they learn a little bit about it. May it quicken them to try to do something about what they're dealing with. In Jesus' name, Amen.
Amen.
Okay. I'm gonna start off. I wrote this book, Mental Illness, God and Healing, and it has some good stuff in it. And I'm gonna start off reading a little bit about it. Ladies and gentlemen, one quarter of the population have a mental illness, and it's a horrible illness to deal with, especially in today's world, where it seems like it's every man for themselves and to heck with the other guy. It's a me world society, and according to the Bible and God's teaching, it won't get any better. I know life can be rough at times where many of us get to the point where we don't know where to turn. If you are reading this and can identify with what I'm saying, and you don't have a mental illness and still deal with tough times occasionally, well, I ask you to think of the mentally ill, or one quarter of the population, who have it maybe 3 or 4 times tougher than the average person. That might be 5 or 6 times tougher than the average person. Like I mentioned early in my book, and please don't shoot me for mentioning it again, many mentally ill persons live in abject poverty, with the lucky ones collecting Social Security. But even with that small amount of money, they are classified as poverty level. What I'm trying to say is life is hard, but count your blessings if you don't have a mental illness. Remember, God made you who you are, and He is the author and finisher of your life. So pray to Him and love your neighbor, because although I can't prove it, in my reality, prayer and love are the most powerful forces in the universe, and those two together with faith can help you live a good and happy life. How's that sound? Okay, let me keep on going. Getting back to schizophrenia, now I'll turn it over to you, Brian, when I'm finished with this. Getting back to schizophrenia in its early phase, the patient often seems eccentric, unmotivated, emotionless, and reclusive. They isolate themselves, neglect their hygiene and appearance, say peculiar things, and show a general indifference to life. They may abandon hobbies and activities they used to do, and their performance at work or school meteorites. I don't know what that is. The most common early warning signs of schizophrenia are social withdrawal. That's me. I'm there. Hostility or suspicion. Terrible personal hygiene. That's me. Flat expression. Inability to cry or show joy. Inappropriate crying or laughter. Depressions. Oversleeping or insomnia. Irrational statements. Forgetful lack of conversation, extreme negation to criticism, strange use of words or speech. Does that some of that sound familiar to you, Brian?
Yep, basically about all of it.
Yeah. Okay. Now and Brian is gonna give his testimony of his life. You know, it's gonna be a 3-part series. So you ready to go, Brian?
Yes, sure. Okay, my name is Brian Boswell. I suffer with schizophrenia, bipolar, and PTSD. At the age of 7, I had a traumatic incident that happened to me, and it literally changed my life. I went down the wrong road instead of going down the right road. I started self-medicating myself at 7 years old with marijuana. By the time I hit 15 years old, I was using cocaine and anything else that I could help use to self-medicate myself. Because at that age, I didn't know I was suffering with mental illness. So by the time I hit 21, my life was on a path of destruction and death. My life really didn't change until I got in trouble with the law and it forced me to go to Pensacola. By then, I was around 28, 29 years old when I hit Pensacola, Florida. From Pensacola, I found out that I did suffer from some kind of mental health issues. They diagnosed me with bipolar and schizophrenia. But I had a pastor that didn't agree with the doctors and told me that basically it was all in my head and that there wasn't nothing wrong with me. I should get back to work. So I did. I worked for 3-4 years. I was there total about maybe 5 years, and my life was going nowhere. I was back to using drugs, drinking, doing whatever I could to just get rid of the nightmares. By the time that happened, I said, the hell with this, I'm going to Myrtle Beach. And I packed up and I left. I went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. A lot of people might think Myrtle Beach is this, quote, glorious place, but during the wintertime, it is pure hell. Because there is no resources there for people who have mental health issues. The doctors didn't even have anywhere to place me or anything else with my mental health condition. I ended up staying in the shelter a couple times. I stayed for 10 days and then I ended up sleeping in the woods for about 2 or 3 weeks in the middle of winter with the overnight lows down in the teens. Having to sleep in the rain and the cold. I finally went back to the shelter and told them, look, I have mental health issues. I can't be out in this cold. I can't do it. So they took me in and they let me stay for about 3 days, and then they told me that, look, that I had to go. So that night I decided, I was like, okay, I'm just going to end everything. So I took 36 Seroquel, chewed them up into a powder and swallowed them, and then told the people inside that I was going to go outside and sit and wait until I died, because I was already dead then. And so I ended up getting put in the hospital, and then the doctor decided to come in and he asked me if there was anywhere I would like to go. They would buy a bus ticket and send me there. And I asked them, I said, well, what are you trying to do? You trying to kick me out of South Carolina? They was like, no, we're not trying to kick you out, but there's nowhere we can put you. So if there is a place you would like to go, we will send you. Well, at that time, the New Orleans Saints was playing in the Super Bowl against the Indianapolis Colts. I told the doctor in South Carolina, I said, okay, I said, they're playing in Miami, so send me to Miami. Wow. I said I was going to go watch the Super Bowl because I am a big Saints fan. So they put me on the bus, took me to the bus station. The doctor gave me a card that had $20 in it so I could get something to eat on the road. And I went to Miami. Didn't know not a single person, didn't have no clue what I was getting myself into. I was just getting the hell out of Myrtle Beach. I got down to Miami, and the first thing I did when I got off the bus, I went and found me a payphone and called 911 and told them that I was going to try to commit suicide. They need to hurry up and come get me. Well, they did. They were there within 3 minutes and took me to the hospital, and the hospital put me in this mental health facility, and I stayed in there for about 2 weeks until they found a shelter to send me. Well, the shelter that they sent me to, you had to have an ID. Well, I lost all my identification in Myrtle Beach. So I didn't have no ID, so I wasn't able to get a blanket. It was cool, kind of chilly at nighttime in Miami. Unreal, but it was. So I ended up talking to them and asking them if there was another shelter somewhere around where I could stay inside. So they sent me to this other shelter. And when I got there, they said, well, we'll let you stay for cold nights, but to stay in the program, you have to have an addiction problem or something wrong with you. Well, I proceeded to tell the guy that I had just got done smoking crack cocaine a couple days ago. Lying to him, of course, but I needed a place to stay. So I was doing everything in my power to get myself not on the street, but inside a building.
Yeah.
So he took me, I did a drug test, and when the drug test came back negative, he came and he told me to come inside. I went inside. He said, look, you're lying to me. He said, I know it, your drug test came back clean. He said, now go outside and sit and wait and think about the reason why you lied and come back in and talk to me. So I went outside for about 5 minutes, smoked me a cigarette, and I went back inside and I told the dude, I said, look, if you put me back out on them streets, I will end up going back and using drugs. I have a problem inside my head. I need to get it fixed. And the guy, luckily, he put down on the piece of paper positive for crack cocaine.
Wow. Okay.
I ended up getting inside the building where they housed the homeless and the people in the shelter and everything else. They had a kitchen, and I would volunteer in the kitchen and everything else for dinner services and stuff like that. And they set me up with a mental health facility that was called Bayview. Bayview had housing places, and Bayview had told me, they said, we will get you into our housing as soon as a position opens up. But you have to stay at this shelter for an extra month. And I told him, I said, well, I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
So I started seeing a doctor at Bayview, and they had diagnosed me with bipolar and schizophrenia and put me on medication. Well, they had to change my medication from during the daytime to nighttime because I had lost an entire day due to the medicine. It had messed me up so bad during the daytime, it took me until 1 o'clock in the morning to finally figure out where I lived at and how to get inside my apartment.
Wow.
So I told the doctors, I said, look, I said, this medication's messing me up during the daytime. I was going to therapy groups. When I first started the therapy group, I walked in and I told the counselor, I said, look, man, I said, I don't know you. I don't trust you. So don't ask me any questions until I get to know y'all. I said, I will not open up to you. I don't care who you are. I'm not doing it. And he said, okay. He said, whenever you're ready to talk, I'm always here. So it gave me a peace of mind and a confidence to be able to actually start opening up to people that I didn't really even know. Mm-hmm. So I ended up staying at the shelter for the whole 2 months, and then I moved into it was like an efficiency apartment. It had a kitchen, bathroom, and 2 beds in the room. Mm-hmm. So I stayed there for a little over 6 months, almost to a whole year. Mm-hmm. And then they moved me into their apartments. So at this time, when I was in the efficiency, I was going to a clubhouse called Focus Clubhouse. And I started cooking inside that clubhouse. But that clubhouse was different from the clubhouse that I ended up finally at. It was run by the staff members, and the only thing the members did was kind of just hang out and play on the computers, and I cooked lunch, and after lunch it was like everybody just disappeared. So Bayview ended up, their top person in their company stole money from the government.
Wow.
So Bayview ended up getting closed down, and another facility called Douglas Gardens had taken over by then. So I was in my apartment by then and everything, so I didn't have to worry about, being put out on the street or nothing. Mm-hmm. Another company was coming in and handling everything for the apartment and all that stuff. So I ended up going and doing an interview at Douglas Gardens. Well, a few months later, after Focus Clubhouse closed, I found a clubhouse called Key Clubhouse of South Florida. Mm-hmm. And when I went for the initial walkthrough, I noticed that all the members were doing work on computers and stuff, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is not what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. And they asked me, they said, well, what is your talent? What do you like to do? Mm-hmm. I told them, I said, look, I love to cook. I went to culinary school for 9 months when I was a teenager. Mm-hmm. That's my passion, that's my dream, is to cook. And so they put me in the kitchen. We started out with Key Clubhouse in a facility in an office building. Mm-hmm. And it had 3 rooms and one little, tiny little kitchen. I mean, it was tiny. You could only fit 3 people in there at one time.
Wow.
There was no more room for anybody else but 3 people. Mm-hmm. And so I learned how to cook out of rice cookers, and that was it. Rice cookers. Mm-hmm. We boiled pasta in rice cookers. We ground meat. We did everything that you could do on top of a stove in a rice cooker. Mm-hmm. And then I found the person that helped me out the most. A woman named Pam. She came into my life and it helped me so much. When I finally got my disability and everything else, it took me over 4 years to get my disability.
Yeah.
Because the doctor that I had was telling Social Security, no, he can work. But it took a doctor in North Carolina to actually tell the judge, look, this man has a traumatic incident that happened to him when he was young. He's been on alcohol and drugs through his childhood into adulthood, and now he's just barely clean and everything else, and y'all are refusing disability. He goes, in my mind, this man cannot work. He is mentally disabled. So when me and the lawyer walked out of the judge's little courtroom and everything else with Social Security, she looked at me and she said, congratulations. And I looked at her, I said, for what? I was like, he didn't say nothing. She goes, don't worry. That doctor in North Carolina, you got your disability.
Wow.
Within 6 months later, I got the check from my back pay, which was $39,000, which the lawyer took $7,000, so it left me with $32,000.
Wow.
And so through the clubhouse and everything else, Douglas Gardens ended up becoming my payee and everything else. So I'm in Key Clubhouse and I'm working in the kitchen and everything else. We ended up moving from the office building to another building that was under apartment buildings. The apartment buildings were on top, and there was two little like store units side by side. So we was able to pick which one we wanted and have the kitchen built up how we wanted the kitchen. So we ended up getting rice cookers, electric skillets, electric burner, crock pots, pressure cookers, electric pressure cookers, and that's how we fixed lunch. Well, when I started out in Key Clubhouse, the lunch was only $1.50. Well, we had a meeting and everybody voted to raise the lunch price up from $1.50 to at least $2.50 for a 3-course meal, dessert, salad, and the main meal. And from there, I made friends. And I took my friends, I decided I was going to pay for the whole trip and everything else, and we went offshore fishing.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
It was the best time of my life. I enjoyed it so much. We caught a 40-pound amberjack, a 35-pound tuna, and some other small tunas, and we caught some dolphins, but they were too small, so we had to throw them back. But with me getting my disability and the clubhouse, Key Clubhouse, anytime I had problems and everything else, I would go to Pam and talk to her. Pam is also a recovering alcoholic. She had been sober for 33 years at that time. So it was easy for me to open up to her and talk to her more about, okay, my medicine's not working on this way, I'm feeling this way. And she was like, look, at any time, if you ever feeling like you're being suicidal and everything else, pick up that phone and call 911. Go get yourself put in the hospital, get your medicines realigned, because she knew with my drug addiction and my alcoholism and everything else through my life that the medication would work for certain periods of time until my body got immune to it. And my doctor that was at Douglas Gardens, I hate to say it, but he was a quack.
Yeah. He's the one that wouldn't give you the
Right, he was the one that wouldn't give me my disability, and he was the
Some
one
of the
that
doctors are like that.
Yeah, he was telling me all the time, oh, you can't get immune to medication. There's no way. And I'm like, dude, you realize when I started using drugs? And he was like, oh, well, using drugs is no excuse. I said, look, man, I said, when I was 37, I was told that my brain was smaller than a 37-year-old man. I said, I have fried my brain with drugs.
Yeah.
I said, you cannot tell me when the medication's working and when the medication's not working. I'm the one that tells you when it stops working. You should listen to me. So anytime I would have to redo my medication, there was a hospital in Miami called Aventura Hospital. And every time I would check myself into that hospital, I would get the same exact doctor that I had before the last visit. And he kept track of my medication and would change my medication back and forth to different dosages and everything else to where it would work. And I would tell him, I'm just like, look, I have a regular doctor, but he don't want to listen to me. And he's like, well, look, anytime you feel like you having problems and everything else and you start feeling suicidal, come check yourself in this hospital and I will take care of you.
Yeah.
So it was like my second doctor.
Yeah.
But luckily, since I've been here in Louisiana, I have not had to check myself into the hospital
awesome.
at all.
That's awesome.
And the main reason is my focus is on getting this clubhouse up and running.
Yeah.
We would hold Thanksgiving dinners there. We would hold Christmas dinners. Halloween, we would make up little Halloween treats and everything else and have the little tiny Halloween party. Everybody didn't really dress up because Halloween is supposed to be some kind of evil day and blah, blah, this and everything else. But it's just, to me, it's a fun day.
Yeah.
You know, you dress up like a scary character and you go out and you have fun. I don't believe in that, all that blah, blah, blah and this and that. I look at facts. And so we would also have functions like we went to a Miami Marlins baseball game one time. The Miami Marlins team was having mental health day at the stadium. So we got the tickets half price, and that made it where we was able to buy them and do the function.
Yeah.
I used to worked in the culinary unit, and I did the finances for Key Clubhouse. So I basically knew what we had in the cash box when we would do our transactions. We would pull money out to go shopping, and we would go down to a grocery store right down the street and buy our groceries for the week.
Okay.
We also had a supply inventory list, which told us what we had in stock, what we needed to buy, and how many we needed to buy of that quantity of that product.
Yeah.
So, you know, we always knew what was on hand in the culinary unit. The business unit had a tax exempt form, which culinary unit had the same thing for us not to pay taxes at the grocery store when we was paying cash and everything else, because since we were a licensed nonprofit organization, we got this tax exempt form. So the business unit would also use that same form to go buy staples and paper and the cartridges for the printers and everything else, and we would go to Staples, and we had a working relationship with Staples.
Good.
Also, the clubhouse would help people find jobs. And that part was basically to do with the employment unit that we had inside the clubhouse. And the clubhouse had found quite a few of our members part-time work. Awesome. And they had came to me and they had asked me, they was like, Brian, would you like to participate and get a job? And I told them, I said, no, I'm having fun right where I'm at. This is where I need to be at. This is kind of like a job to me.
Yeah.
You go in, you cook, you get done, you eat, you hang around for a while, and then you go home.
Mhm.
You know, so it was
You did that 7 days a week or
5 days a week.
5 days a week?
5 days a week, and we would host our special events on the weekends too. We would there was a guy upstairs, his name was Steven, and he had a barbecue grill. So we would go buy charcoal and hamburgers and hot dogs, and we would grill out outside
Uh-huh.
and for a function during the weekend on a Saturday. And it would be from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Cool.
It wouldn't be all day because not everybody wanted to be there all day on a Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, there was other things that
They
we
wanted to
would
do.
like to go do and,
Yeah.
and everything else. I would go and watch movies with a friend. His name was Eric. He didn't really have money, and I had money at that point in time. So I would treat him and everything every once in a while to a movie and dinner. And we would go to the Cheesecake Factory, or we would go to some other restaurant. We went to Olive Garden. And so it was like, okay, you know, I have the money. I'm able to treat somebody else. It made me feel good because I was able to treat somebody
Yeah,
else.
Of course.
Now it's a little bit of a different story.
Yeah.
I gotta watch my pennies and everything else because I got a house note, electric bill, gas bill,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay. And plus, I also smoke cigarettes, so
Yeah. It's
it's
expensive.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know, the clubhouse did so much for me. I always have one saying. Miami saved my life.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
If I would never went to Miami, if I would have stayed in Myrtle Beach and everything else, I would probably be dead by now.
Yeah.
I would have been dead
Yeah.
quite a few years ago.
Yeah.
I stayed in Miami for 7 years.
Yeah.
That is the longest time I've ever stayed in one single state in my entire life.
Yeah.
Because it's always been 3-4 years, and then I would move somewhere else. I go here, I go here.
Yeah.
I was always
On the
moving
go, on
around.
the go.
Even when I was a child, I would bounce back and forth between each of my parents because I learned to manipulate at an early age, and that's how I grew up. I would manipulate you into giving me whatever I wanted. It wasn't what you wanted. It's all about me.
Yeah.
And that was through probably mainly through my mental health issues that I did not know I had
Yeah.
and everything else, because that's it turned me into that type of person.
Yeah.
I was a street person. I wasn't book smart.
Yeah.
I learned the streets. I learned how to survive on the streets.
Yeah.
And that part helped me in Myrtle Beach because
Yeah.
I had to learn how to survive up there without any kind of money. I had called my brother up and asked him, send me some money so I can get me a tent. And he told me, hell no.
Wow.
You know, and I'm like, hey man, you don't want to help your brother out? I'm sleeping in the cold, man. Come on, get me a tent. And I didn't know it, but the cops in Myrtle Beach, when they would find an area that had tents in them, they would take their knives and cut the tents up.
Wow.
So, because the mayor of Myrtle Beach did not want homeless people in his city.
Wow.
Oh.
And he had said that quite a few times on TV and everything else. I am trying to get rid of the homeless population here. And it was like, hey, we're homeless for a reason.
Yeah.
We didn't choose to be this way.
Yeah.
You know, how can you be in office and care so less about people who can't afford? And y'all are a summer place, not a winter place, because there was no jobs at all.
Yeah.
And that facility that gave me 10 days, they said you had to find a job within 10 days to get an extension. And I'm like, dude, there's no jobs.
Yeah.
All the restaurant people are full up. There is no work here.
Yeah.
I went to a work site because I used to do construction. and I did new homes. I helped build new homes from the ground all the way up to the roof and everything else. So I knew carpentry work, and I went up and I talked to the boss man, and he plainly asked me. He said, "Do you know how to speak Spanish?" And I looked at him. I said, "No." I said, "I don't speak Spanish, man." He said, "Well, you have to know how to speak Spanish to work on my crew. I have a bunch of Mexicans on my crew." I said, "So you're not going to hire me because I don't know how to speak Spanish?" And he said, "Yes, exactly that."
Wow.
Which I shouldn't have did what I did next, but I did. I called the immigrations and I told them where to find the crew and where to go. And about half of his crew left when immigration showed up and everything else. I was like, "Oh, I'm going to get you back, dude. I'm a United States American. I'm a citizen. I was born here. I was raised here. And how are you going to tell me what kind of qualifications I have to get this job?" So, and when I got to Miami, I was like, "Oh boy, this is going to be fun." Well, my nickname in Miami was "Hey Poppy."
Yeah.
Every time I heard somebody say "Hey Poppy," I would turn around and look, who are you talking at? I'm a United States citizen, man. I'm not Cuban and everything else. But they're like, "Well, you're so brown." I was like, "Yeah, but that don't mean I'm Mexican or Cuban." And Miami is run by the foreigners. It's 90% foreigners and 10% Americans there. Jobs are not easy. You have to know Spanish and everything else. I had a person inside the clubhouse. There was two people. They were both Cubans and they were both staff members. And every time they would start talking in Spanish while I was in the kitchen, I would turn to them and look at them and ask them, "Hey, English. Can y'all please speak English around me while I'm in here? I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand you. I need to know what you're saying. How do I know you're not talking about me?" So, but I had to learn how to live with different people and everything
Different
else.
ethnic groups and everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I ended up having one of my best friends. His name is Jacinto. I always call him my brother because if I was running low on money, I would go up, "Hey, Jacinto, let me borrow $10. I got you on payday." "Okay, here you go, Brian." And it wasn't "Oh, well, hey man, when you gonna have that for me?" It was like, "Just get it to me whenever you get paid."
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, cool." So,
Well, to stop you for a second, Brian. We know you had a rough life when you were coming up. In this world, everybody has a story. And you have a very interesting story. But just to change the direction a little bit, I want to ask you some of the 5 basic symptoms of schizophrenia, or delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, disorganized behavior, and negative symptoms. But do you have delusions?
I have, I see the traumatic incident that happened at 7. I saw a little boy die in front of my face. And he was 5 years old. I was 7. And he died in a horrible way. So when I have my illusions, when I see my illusions, I see him, and then I see demons behind him.
Yeah.
The young boy doesn't talk to me. It's the demons who I battle.
Yeah.
And everything else in my schizophrenia. So, if I'm not on my medication and everything else, and it's not working, sometimes I will be up all night battling these things that normally I know they're not supposed to be there. They're not. This is not supposed to happen,
Yeah.
and everything else. But you know, God allows you to go through certain things
Of course.
to get where you need to go in life.
Yeah.
And right now, my purpose is the clubhouse.
Yeah. That's
Now-
what you want to.
I know we need one here in Lafayette. Are there any others in Louisiana?
No, there is no clubhouse. The only closest clubhouse is Houston.
Wow. Well, we need it because one time I took Bob's dog Chloe for a walk before the show, and I stumbled into a group of people from UL that had a little table set up with some spaghetti and salad, and I could tell there were homeless veterans there. I didn't really get a chance to see who else, but that told me, and I didn't even know what a clubhouse was, but we really need that here.
Yeah.
Yes,
a
we do.
lot of places need that there. That need
So,
that.
Brian, what kind of help you all need to get this started? I went to the fundraiser, when was that?
It was a few weeks ago.
3 weeks ago? 2 weeks
2 weeks ago, yeah, a little over 2 weeks ago. It was on a Thursday in July. That's all I do. I don't remember the date, but
I don't either, but what do you need from all of us here in the show, those people watching, NAMI,
well,
the Extra Mile, all that? What can we
from-
all do to help?
right now we're in a process of we just passed our bylaws and everything else, bylaws of organization and everything. So now we're focused on trying to get money and trying to find a place to set up so we can get doors open, you know, and just expand from there. You know, it's right now we just need to find a building, a house, something so we can get the doors open,
Right.
and then we can really show the community when we get members and they start seeing and everything else. You know, we would have at the Key Clubhouse, we would have sometimes family nights and
Okay.
everything else, in which the family members of the people who were suffering with the mental illness would come in, and then certain people that were, you know, that would want to donate to the fund and everything else would come in, and they would look around, and we would give them a tour and everything else about the clubhouse, and we would explain what we was doing in there and why we was asking for this money. Is not to go in our pockets.
Right.
You know, we don't make a dime off of this. This is all voluntarily based. The only people that are paid is the staff members.
Okay.
And the members are the one who hire the staff members. We are in the process of going through their resume, looking at them, seeing what kind of qualifications they have and everything else, and doing the interview to them and ask them, you know, kind of questions like, what would you do in a situation if a couple members were getting into a fight?
I fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, we need to know that you are willing to, you know, make sure that everybody is safe. And there has been a couple times that a couple members didn't like the way they was talking to each other and wanted to go at it, but they were able to be split up and taken to different area rooms, and one of them was asked to leave and come back the next day and everything.
I live in an isolated life. You know, I'm doing quite well, Brian. Like you can attest, Richard. You
Right.
know, but I'm by myself most of the time, and a clubhouse would be a perfect place to go hang out. A place, not a bar, not a restaurant where you have to dish out the cash or anything, but a place where you can go with people of like taste and stuff, and that would be great. Let me ask you: was there favorable results of the clubhouse meeting?
Yeah, during any decisions inside the clubhouse, we would hold a meeting once a month, and we would discuss the past notes from the past meeting. We would vote on like what kind of events we'd want to be doing and everything else. So, you know, it was all, the members all had a hand in everything that went on inside the clubhouse.
Yeah.
In the culinary unit, we would have members that would go through the computer and pick out different recipes that maybe we would like to try to cook inside the culinary unit and everything else. And then we would organize our supply inventory list and take them recipes, and we would we would have a daily quote and then the lunch menu, and it would tell you what we were serving. It was always salad and dessert, which our desserts were pudding, jello, or yogurt.
Uh-huh. And there was a lot of interaction with everybody.
Yes.
Like I know support groups that I go to, the NAMI support groups. People talk about the different medications they talk about they take, the different feelings they feel and stuff like that. Y'all were able to do that. Huh?
Yeah, we would mainly talk to the staff members. I mean, some of the members we would talk back and forth to each other, and you know, telling each other how we're doing at home or what's going on. But a lot of the staff members would help out with situations like that and everything else. Like I had Pam, and I would go outside and I would sit and smoke with her and everything else. I always went shopping with her, helped her with the.
It's good to have a friend. It's good to have a friend.
Yeah.
Hey, before I forget to mention, Brian, I'm glad you mentioned meetings. NAMI is having a family day this Saturday between 1 and 4 p.m. at Robichaux Recreation Center near Erast Landry. And you're all invited. Bring friends. We'll have hamburgers, hot dogs, and, you know, other munchies. But if you all could do a little short presentation there, I think that'd be a great opportunity.
Okay.
Because we'd be all willing to help out on this. I'll tell you, this is important to know.
One thing, the clubhouse in Miami worked with NAMI closely.
Okay.
And that's what we want to do. We want to work with NAMI closely and everything else so NAMI can be involved inside the clubhouse. And NAMI would come to our clubhouse and they would say, hey, we're having this program for support counselors and everything else. And we would go around and ask members, do you want to get involved in this? Do you want to go and take the classes and everything else to become a support person? And a few of our members inside the clubhouse actually went and got certified as a support person from the clubhouse.
Peer support? Peer support
Yeah, peer support specialist and everything else. So, you know, when we get our doors open and everything else and we get members in, we would like to work with NAMI and get some of our members to become a peer specialist and everything else. So, you know, we're not saying we don't want to work with organizations. We want to do work with organizations.
Yes.
It's important for everybody who have mental health issues to work with some kind of organization.
Yes.
Of course.
And this clubhouse is a perfect opportunity to do that.
Well, we got NAMI of Acadiana right here. Karen and Steve Dubois are the leaders. We got Denver Nobles, who does all the outreach programs like the support groups. Bob and I and Lucille are all facilitators that we went through training in Baton Rouge.
Lucy, come say hello.
Yeah, come say hi, Lucille.
This is the best director we ever had. She got us on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, this beautiful lady is the reason we're on Facebook. Hi, girl.
And all three of us are certified peer support specialists. We all got our certificates the first week of October of last year, and we're all working in our continuing education units. And it was a tough course, man. I mean, 3 months crammed into 2 weeks, but we all graduated.
Yeah, and one good thing about people with mental conditions, Brian, I'm sure you know, we're smart people. We're smarter than the average person on the street.
Well, that's the point. That's the thing. They think people with mental health issues are dumb. We're not dumb people. We're actually very smart.
We're very
Right.
smart.
And we've learned to deal and cope with this disease for so many years. You gotta get educated.
Yes.
Yes. And you know, there's many aids if you're wondering if you have a mental health diagnosis. Talk to your doctor, right, Brian?
Oh, yeah.
If you're feeling out of sorts, if you're feeling depressed or something, and just talk to your doctor and ask him. Maybe they can refer you to a psychiatrist or something.
Right. I was just lately diagnosed with the PTSD.
Okay.
And they diagnosed me with the PTSD for the simple fact of what happened to me when I was a child.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And
yes.
everything else. And also when my father passed away, me and my father, we were like best friends. We were really, really close. And when the night that he died on Christmas night.
Wow.
And it felt like my whole world had crashed. And I was in my late 20s, early 30s when he died.
Yeah.
And he called me and told me, he's like, I got 6 months to a year to live. And I went to my mom and I told her, I said, I doubt if he lasted 6 months. And he only lasted 3 months after we had that conversation.
Wow.
So, but I have a picture of him with my mom and me and my older brother.
And Brian, your mom has been a wonderful help to you.
Yes. Me being back here in Louisiana wouldn't be possible without her.
Yeah. Moms are great people,
wanna come
man.
up?
What can I say about
Stand behind
mom?
your son.
Well, I am just as proud as I can be of my son. He did a great job tonight, did a great job with his testimony the other night at the fundraiser, and he sits on the board of the Focus Clubhouse because that's one of the standards of Clubhouse International is you have to have a member on your board. So since he's the one that brought the clubhouse to Louisiana,
Yeah,
he's
thank
the
you,
member
Brian.
that
Thank you, Brian.
Wow.
that sits on the clubhouse board. So I really
Thanks,
I
man.
really am proud of him. He's come a long way since Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Yeah,
Wow.
thank you.
Are
Thank
there
you, Brian.
meetings that we can attend to help volunteer with the fundraising and other things to get the clubhouse started?
Well, we do have spots open on our board for board members
Okay.
and everything else.
You can volunteer without being an actual board member. When we start planning other events, we'll be having another fundraiser in March sometime.
Okay.
That'll be another big fundraiser like we did the other night. But in between, we plan on having small little get-togethers, and we will need help with those. We may do a barbecue, a picnic, or something like Nami's going to do, where we invite the community so that they can learn about us, and those kind of things we will definitely need volunteers to help with. So y'all are both welcome.
And we do have flyers and everything else.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we have brochures, we have information, so
And how would you get it online?
we have a Facebook page called Focus Clubhouse that you can follow. We have a website, focusclubhouse.org, or you can call myself at 225-806-1965.
Thank you, Clarice. And I would like to talk to people
Excuse me.
like the three of us that have mental conditions and Lucy, that if you're all by yourself and because of all the injustice that has happened to you, and you don't believe there's a real God out there, I would just like to say, and you're suffering, and you're by yourself. It's not good to be by yourself. Just ask God to show you that He's real, and most I guarantee you He will. You know, ask Him to prove Himself to you, and He will. Definitely. And I would like to say, Brian, it was a pleasure having
I've
you.
learned a lot
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you.
I
Thank
really
you.
have.
And like we said, we will be having more guests for Focus Clubhouse in a few weeks.
Wow.
Okay.
It went by that fast.
Thank you, man. How you like that?
It
was good.
You
It
thought
was
about
good.
writing
Thank
a
you, sir.
short-
Oh, thank you, Brian.
You thought about writing a little short booklet about your story?
I'm not really a writer.
Well, we got writers here. Bob's an author. I'm learning to become a writer. Lucille writes. We've got talent that we know that could help you put together something, because you got a story that needs to be told.
Maurice, how you like that
I-
book I gave you? Did you?
Wow. This is good. This is good. And anytime y'all need to have announcements made, you could send us like by email a picture of a brochure or a flyer. We can put that right up on the air
Okay.
and on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll let Mom know that. She does all the Facebook and all that
I need
stuff.
to give her my email address then.
Okay.
Let me text her my email. Let's see. Let's see.
I'm telling you, it's exactly how I felt.
Well, I think this is going to happen here in Lafayette, and there's a man that works for CGI Technologies. All he does is fundraising. Jim Tillman. I'm going to give your mom all that stuff tonight. Oh, that's just that little thing that comes up. It always bugs me. I'm actually applying there for a part-time job, but my heart is really to see this clubhouse come to fruition. Like I was saying, Lucille, Bob, and I are already certified peer support specialists. She's working 2 days a week. There's no more positions through the state
Yeah,
here in
well,
Lafayette.
one thing I didn't get into during the conversation about the clubhouse, there in the employment unit, there's 3 different types of employment
Okay.
that they can take.
Okay.
Which regular employment is which they go out and they find their own jobs